Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust. First order of business is to approve the minutes of the September 11 meeting, and I would recognize a motion to that effect.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Before we move into the consent docket, Marcia wanted to talk a little bit about item number 6B.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We put an item on your agenda today to describe reallocation of some capital program funds. As you know, we made many changes rapidly to the capital program after the summer of 2011 to repair problems that we were seeing, deficiencies we were seeing in the water system. This summer we saw an additional deficiency that we have not quite corrected. In the case of the Southwest improvements, we're on a fast pace to get those corrected. We'll also move into the Northwest later in a couple of years in the capital program to make those lower than perfect pressures come up as we redefine the water system pressure boundaries. Back to the point, in this case we have a problem that can only be solved with construction of a new pipeline. We're recommending 2.5 miles of 24-inch main extensions under 3 separate projects. We think it will cost about $3.6 million. We recommend that we take that money from revenues we made this summer with peak water demands, as we did last year. Alternatively, we can delay some of our rehabilitation projects. Notably, there's a Project 180 project that has been delayed a year or two that could help us provide funds.
Are there any questions? I would recognize a motion to authorize the staff to reallocate the funds.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Now moving back to the regular agenda. We have a number of consent items, and I would recognize a motion to approve those subject to individual consideration. Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any items for individual consideration?
Mr. Chairman, I have just a few minor questions on item 3A. This is a project to increase water pressure on the west side, and it says a minimum of 65 psi. Do we have a city standard for minimum water pressures during peak demand times?
25 psi is the ODEQ standard requirement. So in all cases, we work toward 25 worst case scenario. And in this area, in peak hour, in the far west, in peak hour, we do see near the airport and to the northwest of this location, 104th and Portland, we do see pressures above 25 psi. Further west during peak hour demand, we see pressures as low as 10 psi. That's why we're striving to make those improvements as quickly as possible and have encouraged people to water at off times.
Is there a minimum pressure that we have to maintain for fire hydrants?
Yes, you want 20 psi at the nozzle as the flow is running through the pumper truck. The pumper truck can literally suck water out of the system and pressure it up.
Okay. So the pumper truck or the truck that has the water in it can take water from our system regardless of what the pressure is?
Yes.
Does the utility inspect the fire hydrants to see what the pressure is?
The fire department does. We do some pressure tests. We have pressure loggers now in all parts of the system. Again, after the peak demands that we saw last summer, we realized we didn't have enough data about pressure changes. Next, we'll be looking at customer usage data in more exacting detail to get better.
If we use 25 psi as a lower limit, what is the upper limit, or is there one?
80 psi is the plumbing fixture standard.
80?
Yes. We have higher pressures in far north Oklahoma City, particularly in Ward 8, as you're coming down the hill from the Hefner Water Treatment Plant, pressures go up. And in those neighborhoods, we have pressure-reducing valves, private pressure-reducing valves on that plumbing.
Okay. Thank you very much, Marcia.
Any other questions on the consent docket? Seeing none, we'll vote. Approved. We have 2 items on the concurrence docket, and I would recognize a motion to approve those subject to individual consideration.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Are there any discussion on individual consideration on either one of the items? Seeing none, we'll vote. Approved. We have an emergency construction contract, resolution ratifying the action of the general manager and declaring an emergency relating to project SC 882, emergency repair to force main at lift station number 4, Northwest Expressway and North Meridian. Okay.
I'm sorry, move approval.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Any questions? We'll vote. Approved. We have a couple of items for individual consideration. First, with emergency, approving amendment number 1 and change order number 1 for project SC 0877.
Move approval.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll vote. Approved. We've already discussed item 6B. With regard to item 6C, is there any reason for executive session?
No, sir, but I want to offer something up here.
Certainly.
The mediator is coming to Oklahoma City next Tuesday, and I was planning on having him come in and address the council. And I guess I'm suggesting maybe possibly we could maybe post, we have a meeting next Tuesday afternoon for the Water Trust, but I was wondering if it would be possible if the independent trustees could come to a time-specific executive session in the morning to meet with the mediator instead of having the mediator come and meet when there's an overlap on both groups. Mr. Edwards is looking at me with a...
I get back in town at about 10 o'clock that morning.
So if we get an executive session at 10:30 or 10:45, 11 o'clock, 11 o'clock?
That'd be fine.
I would have to talk to the mayor and see if we can work that out, but...
Yeah, I'm out of town Monday through Thursday that week.
So you're not going to be at the... I'm trying to not have a separate meeting in the
I understand,
afternoon.
and that's fine.
So-
I can visit with you afterwards.
Okay,
Catch up.
we'll give you an update when after he gives us. Okay, we'll see if we can work something out toward that end.
Okay.
I'll have to work with the city clerk because this isn't our normal method of doing things, but I think it's possible.
Yeah, it can be done.
Great. Since there's no reason for executive session, we'll move. Are there any items from trustees?
Just a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
On the water line that's being installed on Hefner, do we have a completion date in mind?
Mr. Sabandi does.
Well, if Sam's involved in it, I feel comfortable he will do it.
Yes.
The current project that's going on Hefner Avenue?
Yes.
We hope to be finished by next summer.
Next summer?
Yes?
Are you going to, as you go along, are you going to, repave?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything will be under control. There shouldn't be any problem.
Okay.
But you're paving incrementally. I think
That's
Mr.
correct.
Ryan's question.
Yeah, that was my, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any other items from trustees? General manager report? Water conservation program.
Mr. Chairman, just wanted to give you a little bit of an update about the things that we're pursuing on water conservation program. Obviously, the first thing is to get information about how we water and help citizens. So we, with your approval, we're engaging the OSU Extension Service and their network of citizens to help us get smart about and help others with best watering practices. We think that's a key factor to be helping customers. Longer term, we're working on methods that we can use to help customers with water use audits. Larger programs that are more established do offer citizens programs, as we once did actually with leak detection kinds of efforts. We're looking at ways we can ramp up to have those services available, whether through contractors we hire and manage the costs. But there are always two components to conservation. One is, are you wasting water? And the other is there something over the long haul that you could save, where you could save water by improving a plumbing fixture, replacing a stopper in a toilet, things like that, that may help customers decrease their water bills as well.
I think that's important. There needs to be some kind of economic incentive in there for the customer to really get serious about it. Educational programs are fine, but it's been my experience that there needs to be something beyond education to make it really work.
Yes, sir, and in the longer-term program, we're preparing for cost of service analysis for the Water Trust that will include inclining block rate options to help ameliorate peak demand, which is very effective.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from trustees? General Manager? Are there any citizens to be heard? Seeing none, we're adjourned.